Welcome to the IDPro Show, the best hub for hearing about how to grow your career in digital identity. I'm Heather Flanagan, Executive Director of IDPro and Principal Editor for the IDPro Body of Knowledge.
And I'm Chris Cochran from AKI Identity, and this is our path through the world of identity. And we're bringing all this information to you to give you the best tips, tricks, and tradecraft in the identity world.
So we're here today to talk to one of my favorite people, Teresa Wu. Teresa is the Vice President of Smart Credential Business within IDEMIA North America. She has successfully overseen diverse product portfolios, leveraging cutting-edge technologies like cloud computing, digital identity documents, and biometric solutions. In her current role, Teresa serves as a cross-functional team leader, driving client success and smart credentials and digital identity programs. And I've seen Teresa be just an amazing driving force in various industry advocacy groups, contributing significantly to automated fingerprint identification system technology, facial recognition, public security, and identity and biometric standards. She's a board member of the FIDO Alliance and the Security Industry Association, and she's a chair of the Identity Access Forum of the Secure Technology Alliance, and just does all these amazing things. Welcome to the show, Teresa.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the nice introduction. Too kind.
But it's all true. So, I mean, you've had the most fascinating career in digital identity. So could you share what was the pivotal moment that really shaped your decision to enter the identity space and what it meant for the whole trajectory of your career?
Good question. Actually, I didn't mean to. I started going into the identity space out of when I was between my bachelor and my master year. I need to do an internship, a 10 months internship program. And I started 3 months in the accounting department in Procter & Gamble in Newcastle. And after 3 months, okay, I like math, but this is not me. I like numbers, I like finances, but this is not me. I need to do something else. And a friend of mine said, yeah, this is not you. You are being complacent. You need to do something different. And thanks to my family, friends of my father, I got to be interviewed, and I got an internship at Sergeant Morpho, which is one of the former entity of IDEMIA out of Paris, to do a marketing internship for 2 product lines: payment terminals, and which require those secure transaction, those PKI and encryptions, and then biometric access control. And I started my internship. So I got the internship before September, but I started my internship in October. So just right after September 11th. And that completely sort of changed my trajectory, because the world has changed. Even I was in France, I think the world was just traumatized. And then we start seeing the need to confirm who you say you are, who other people are, for protections, and biometric come front and center. And I guess I fell in love with that biometric technology. I feel like I find my calling. And I would say that at first, marketing wasn't my forte at school, right? I was studying B2C marketing and marketing. Yeah. I did not relate to it. I did not like the numbers. I didn't want to do the bell curve and the ratios and the stat. Wasn't me at all. But then when you're in that marketing internship, I realized that my calling was B2B. I can do B2B. I can do B2G. I see the bigger mission. And that's what changed me. And I haven't really left. I say, okay, I find my calling. This can change the world. This has impact in the world. And I stuck with biometrics ever since.
Wow, what an intense journey. When you think about that journey into identity, what was the biggest challenge for you, and how did the events of September 11th change your career trajectory?
So I think the September 11 was sort of okay, we all felt that even though we were not personally impacted, I wasn't personally impacted, I didn't lose any friends. I felt what can we do how can we make sure this doesn't happen again, right? and you feel like, okay, the job I'm doing, the tech I'm working on can do that. And you feel like, okay, that's something I can, your own grieving, like your own process of processing the events, like what can I do
Right.
about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how I did it, is that I can do something about it. I can learn about the technology. I think the difficult part is I have a business management background. I was still a student, right? I'm new to this world. You have September 11 just happened, and what can you do? You're complete newbies. You are new. You are not technical. What can you do? So I think the challenge is more about like understand the tech, understand the business, the business setup of the environment. You're doing payment terminal. You're not really again identity yet, but you know that the biometrics tied to a person. And you want to see how this mean in the global context. So my challenge is really about understand all the new world of acronyms. I'm sorry, like in identity space, we're the nerds. I think we're gonna like compete ourselves. Like competition is about how many acronym you know and you remember.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing first is all these jargons, all these terms you need to know. 1 to 1, 1 to n. And we actually with Heather we talk about your identification meaning and my identification meaning is different. Right?
The same thing, yeah.
Different word, different meaning, same word. I need to really become very technical about understanding the different piece of technology works in what part of the ecosystem, from the encryption, the PKIs, the biometrics, and the vegan and the communication. All that become very technical very quickly, and I need to really grasp all those concepts very quickly. That's I would say and then ongoing any new field you go into is all this jargon you get yourself into. Like the first time I heard about IGA, I'm like what does it mean? Governance is like, someone like adjudication, what is that? Like I mean when I go into the IM space, it was one of the first outcome I come across. I'm like, okay. Now you keep expanding it, but as you're expanding you learn and how you can overlay what you know. So that has been fun.
I love that though. The question of, okay, so this isn't my area of expertise, but I desperately want to do something to help. What can I do given I don't have the expertise? What can I do to help? I had exactly the same question because I was supposed to be a librarian when I grew up. And I haven't worked in a library since 1995 at this point, but I still have my degree.
Well, you're building a book of knowledge. I mean, it's like a virtual library. I'm sorry.
It is.
Well, it is now.
Very true.
But it's, there's also been RFCs and there's been a whole lot of that. And that's a great segue into the whole standards part of what it is you do. So let's talk about some of the standards and advancing technologies that you've influenced, because you've been, like we said earlier, you've been involved in the automated fingerprint identification systems, facial recognitions. So how have these innovations actually evolved during your time in the field? Because, I mean, we know it's been a lot of change, but what have you really noticed about this, and how did you help make it happen?
Okay, the first thing is the speed of improvement. Thanks to deep learning. Before I use the word AI, so I said, this is like not even 5 minutes. I have to say AI.
Yeah.
But I would say that what really changes speed of improvement in the tech, right? Before, it takes longer cycle to see improvement in the technology, whether it is the feature extraction, matching, speed algorithm, efficiency. The speed of improvement takes years sometimes. Like it takes, for fingerprint, took over 15 years to mature to be a viable biometric technology that can do large scale database and search and all that, and complex searching. And facial recognition is the same thing. 20 years ago, facial recognition is like a flip of a coin, right? And now it's like this most accurate thing, but it takes time. And we always said that, biometrics technology, it will take time to mature. Beyond that, and with AI, well, deep learning, neural network AI, and now generative AI, the speed of progress that you see, like 3 years is like a lifetime for algorithm now, right? Your matching system is like you expect constant improvement. With cloud, with SaaS, now you expect your system to be like available online and easy access, and integrating into the system more easier. So the change has been, the 20 years has been night and day, in my opinion, from very gated, very tailored, very stagger into this like, okay, it's constant change and improvement. So that's one on the technology side. Then on the, I wouldn't say I've influenced a lot of technology standard, but I feel like I contributed and I learned from it. So I would say one thing I do realize is that if you want to learn about technology, you can do the books and you can read, but the best way to start is standard. Right? The best way to start to learn how the standard, like how the tech works, you go to the standard.
I'm telling you, she is my people. My people.
2 peas in a pod.
I have to admit, like I was managing the portfolio with different product and solution, but digital ID was in my portfolio, in my purview, 4 or 5 years ago, and it was very laborious to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand the whole thing because there's so much like jargons going on, workflow, ecosystem. Okay, what proofing and then issuance, like what? And that led me to go to Identiverse in 2019. That's where I met Heather the first time. And why? It's because I couldn't really understand it until I read the standard. This 863 get me overlaid the flow and the requirements. Oh, that's why we do technology this way. That's why we implement the way we do. The standard helped me level set the requirement and explain why we do certain things. So if you want to know, like want to become that like in the growing journey, I would say, yes, you can look at the product, you can go to trade shows, you can do all those webinar, but grab the standard and read it. Like I did it from MDL, I did it for digital ID, I did it for early on with PIV, and it's that's for me was my gateway to like gateway to master the subject matter expert, like get the subject matter expertise is to go down to the standard. You know the standard, now you're like, for me, it's like you're already above, you're already standing out, you know?
All right. So that whole bit, that's going to be its own little soundbite going straight to LinkedIn. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You two are superheroes to me because I'm one of those guys that takes tech out of the box and doesn't read the instructions and just does everything wrong until I figure it out. But it's so much smarter just to read the standard. It's more intelligent to read the instructions than to try to be a lughead like myself. But I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership, because if you look at your resume, I mean, you've been a leader in biometrics, you've been a leader in cloud computing, you've been a leader in identity. When it comes to leading different people, because I've led people from on the creative side, on the technology side, on the sports side, being a trainer, all kinds of different folks, people are different across the board. Even people within the same team are different. So what are some of the tenets or the philosophies that you've carried with you, bringing cross-functional teams together for one mission?
I would say this. I'm a servant leader. Like literally, I realized that when I was like 20 years ago, when I was a marketing intern, I'm like, one day I'm going to be the boss. I'm going to tell people what to do.
Yep.
Well, and I wish I can be that way, but the reality is no one will just follow you and do what you tell them to do. Anyway, it doesn't happen.
Right.
So I am more roll up the sleeve servant leader. I do a long way. I learn. I always feel like I can't really tell people what to do or guide people what to do if I haven't done it myself. So my leadership style is really just do it together. Do it, set example, do it together, figuring out together. I don't really see myself like, I know people say, well, you're VP, that's why people follow you and people do what you do. I was like, not really. I think I want people to work with me because they know that I will invest equal or more time to understand all the challenges and the issue and fight for the best outcome possible. Win it together. And I'm hoping that's how I will drive people to come along and do it together, is that because we're going to win, like we're going to achieve and be successful together. So
that's another soundbite for LinkedIn.
I'm telling you, it's true. It's true. So, one of the things, too, so you mentioned, and I started laughing, was, okay, well, what is identification and what is identity? Because you and I have chatted about this before when talking about what people, what companies, what does IDPro aim to support? Who is our target audience? And, your perspective was, a whole lot of people think of identity as IAM, and that's it. But you've seen it through the lens of public security, biometrics, a whole lot more. So how tell our listeners how you define the broader field of identity and why you think it's just more than IAM.
So the aha moment was definitely 2019. I'm going to go back to the first time IDPro come to my life was in 2019. I was volunteering in Women Identity booth. Know nothing about the space, and Heather was kind of, I don't know, wearing multiple hats. I think you were doing multiple things, but you were volunteering.
Well, that's fairly typical. Yeah.
And Women Identity. We're doing both, and I would see that in that's when I realized that the identity that I serve on my side, helping government issuing citizen identities so they can transact, so the government can recognize who they are serving, right? One of my mentors said, identity is critical infrastructure for a country, especially a country in development. For a country to plan, they need to know how many people they have in the country. They need to know their age group and what they need to do and serve and invest in school. And that's why you have birth certificate. And then you need to know who you need to provide healthcare to. All that come with, you need to establish a registry, a civil registry. And the civil registry become the anchor for identity. And then later on, those citizens can use the identity to transact and with the government, right? So it's a very utilitarian tools, right? And that's where I came from. For me, it was this credentials for any given citizen to be able to be recognized by the government entity, so that they can get the benefit, they can use, they can travel with it, they can do things with it, and they can be recognized as a citizen of the country, right? I mean, it's just all these universal things that we take it for granted. That's for me what identity is. It's very utilitarian. I have a very government focus. So when I went to Identityverse, this enterprise IAM thing just like opened up, like aha, like open sesame. And then I was there also to start spearheading the digital identity. Now, that's interesting. The digital identity space from government, and back then in 2019 with the digital identity of the enterprise, barely overlap. It's like, well, no, we in this bubble, right? In enterprise, digital identity is just who you need to deal with, whether it's a customer or employee. But we're self-sufficient as long as we know who they are, their rights, their privileged, what we can authorize they do for, that in that bubble, it works, right? And then this become CIMs about driving revenue, understand the life cycle and all that, and CRM and all that. So it's sort of like it seems like there's completely two different things. Now in 2024, I don't think the digital identity start coming like this, right? It comes and say, actually, no, we just we want to know more. Like the zero trust mindset is like, actually, we really want to know we can really trust those attributes and credentials. And so now the government digital identity space become this anchor for the enterprise space, in my opinion. Right. So I see that as a sort of this convergence. And I also saw the government utilities. It's more than just government utilities now. It's more. It grew. COVID kind of drove it. The fraud, the AI kind of drove it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
in a world where like, how can we trust who we're dealing is real? How can we really know that this is the right attribute, and all the cyber attacks and all that? I felt like now the digital identity, it's a now become this not just a utilitarian for government, but
Mm-hmm.
essential tools in the digital economy. Like not just in enterprise either. So you really want to know who you're dealing with. So
You and I are going to have so much fun on that. So, Chris, Teresa and I actually are on a panel together at the close of Authenticate.
Oh,
Andy Kindle will be moderating, and Teresa will be there. I will be there. Nishant Kaushik will be there. Christine Owens will be there. And we're going to be talking about digital wallets. And I think it's going to be a super fun conversation.
oof. I got to see that. I love that you segued completely perfectly to one of my favorite topics, which is the future. You talked a little bit about the past and how we got to where we are, and you even start to touch on a little bit of the future. I know a lot of your work has to deal with smart credentials. What is smart credentials for anyone out there that doesn't know what it is? Where are we at today? And what does the future of smart credentials look like when it comes to digital identity?
great question. So actually, one of my leaders asked me, I said, "Do people really know what smart credential means?" Right? So I'm like, well, I think it's better than secure credential. I think people understand what secure credential is. If you understand PIV, then you know that PIV is sort of both a physical access control pass for you, as well as proving your identity, and you can use it across multiple organizations, right? And that was one of the first standard I work on, by the way, the FIPS 201 standard.
Yeah.
And I would say smart credential is basically the generic terms of what PIV should be and better. Smart credential means that you're going to have a credential that's flexible enough that allows organizations to manage their workforce in a holistic way, not one badge for the door and one badge for computers and another USB keys for your for your login access and so forth. You can have like a credentials that can do all these things smart enough to help you navigate on all these things. Right. That would be what I feel like the what smart credential should enable, help create a frictionless employee experience in
Right.
the organizations. So yes, no more using password, using phishing resistant way of authenticate yourself online, using it as well your physical, having a drive that security convergence. The CISO and the CSO can like have the same view of what the employee journey can be. That would be great. And I like to see that we can use the same that credentials and having enable a next level digital experience. So you can back it up with in the mindset of in that framework of zero trust, again another buzzword, but I think it means
It
something.
does.
Zero trust, it's really about that security and driving a higher level security posture for the organizations, and you're going to upskill your tool, and I'm hoping that organization can stop dealing with their security posture in silos, and smart credential can be that place of convergence. And then once you do that, once you have done your security convergence, once you increase your security posture and you get your organization be better, robust to phishing attack and all that, and cyber attacks, then you can be more poised and more positioned to do post-quantum migration, right? That's sort of the step and step. So I'm just the baby step here, the beginning of that security journey.
There is just way so much going on in this field. And you talked about a great way to get people started, of course, is to read standards, which I think is 100% the correct answer, even if they do like to just pull things out of the box and poke at them. But for, thinking in addition to that, there's people who are trying to start their careers in identity, and they're probably going to feel pretty overwhelmed maybe by the standards, thinking they're not technical enough to understand that or whatnot. I mean, what advice would you give to someone just starting out, especially regarding the skills and the mindset that they need to succeed?
Number one, has nothing to do with knowledge. Be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be graceful with yourself. Like no one was born expert. We are not born experts. Like suddenly, like we just know science infused into your brain and you just know everything. No one's know it all from birth. So you start, and it's okay not to know. It's completely okay. So where to start? Find your tribe, find your village where you can start asking questions. That's why I like IDPro. Actually, the IDPro slide is super entertaining. There are all the things being asked and shared. I had no idea. I'm like the side conversation. Like I'm like the observer looking all this thread, and I'm having a fun time. Even though that sometimes even the discussion is really too nerdy, I enjoyed it because I can say, oh, that's out there. Even though I don't know it enough, it's out there. I think it's reassuring to me that there are people out there know more than I do, and I just need to know where they are. So build your SME village. I always say to build your tribe. Like find your tribe and learn, because you don't want to be the smartest person in the room anyway. So you're gonna have to learn from someone know more than you.
Mm-hmm.
You do need to spend time. Honestly, spend time in be patient in listening to webinar, taking classes. People like got shocked. It's like, okay, Teresa, where do you find time to do Udemy or Coursera, all these classes? Like the cloud computing. I think the cloud computing one was one of the first one. When they said, oh, you need to manage the cloud portfolio, we need to migrate this thing to the cloud. I'm like, I kind of know what the cloud is. Guess what? You know what? I'm gonna like in the winter. I literally took like 3 different cloud classes just to know.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now I can talk shop with the engineer.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that. I love it.
But there's no shame in saying that. Like you don't know, it's okay. Go like learn it, ask questions. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay not to know. So you don't feel overwhelmed. And then start reading standard.
Putting on a master class. In that same vein, and thinking about the future again, what are some of the areas in the next 5 or 10 years that has you the most excited and is potentially something for someone coming into the field to help develop, cultivate, and make better for the rest of the community?
Great question. I was at Identity Week last week. I got similar question. And I said that we in the awakening time for digital ID. It's super exciting with the advance of digital identity issued by government. Remember that utility when we said that, oh, we have national ID card. Well, we don't have national ID card here. We have passport, we have driver license, and some country have national ID card and all that. Well, we now in this world of this period where we now can have them digitally and interoperable digital credentials that is cryptographically signed and certain, and that you can tie to a biometric and back it up and you can use it. I think the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see how the relying party is going to adopt and use it, smartly using it, how to make it more secure. And so that we can really have we talk about identity is the next currency, but we don't know how to trust that identity because we don't really have identity layer on the internet. Well, guess what? I think the digital ID is sort of like, okay, maybe there's no real internet layer yet, but we all trying to solve it. And I think that now we have a really good tool to solve that problem. I'm not saying it's only thing to solve the problem. It's not a silver bullet. But digital, the MDL of the world, it's gonna help solve that problem. Now we just need to plug in the layers and get awesome use cases out, and I think we will navigate the digital world a bit differently than we are doing today. Like identity proofing, the way we're doing identity proofing today should change or should be add on and evolve instead of guessing if this is a real document.
Right.
To like, okay, I know this is a real document. That's a big shift. And I think the organization should start asking why I keep wanting to know it's just probabilistically this is real. to I can deterministically no, this is real. How to make that journey is still use the probabilistic document checking, whatever proofing way for other use cases, and then use a deterministic. Now you have more tool set and how to use the tool.
You are putting on a masterclass, and unfortunately, it has come to an end. So many sound bites, so many things to share on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to hop on the mics with us. Thank you to everyone watching, and a special thank you to IDPro and AK Identity to allow Heather and I to do this crazy little project we have going on to find the best and brightest in identity and share it with the world. With that, we'll see everyone in the next episode.